Hi, welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Norman. We are at Shepler's. It's about 5:30 here on Monday after the Chicago Mac race. I'm trying to catch my breath. I'm catching the 5:30. As you can see, there's a whole lot of folks here coming on the same trip I'm coming on. I'm not sure I've ever been in Mackinac City when I was the only guy on the boat. But we'll get some information, some opportunity, and have a conversation about a variety of things. We're going to hopefully get a chance to spend some time with Chris Duhon on Mockingbird, who won the race. And a couple of weeks ago we were on Cynthia Lynn for the Queen's Cup from Milwaukee to Grand Haven. They were I think third or fourth overall. We'll have that conversation with John and a couple of those guys and just kind of pick up on the Chicago party. So we'll see what happens, and we'll be back in a minute. If you've been reading the papers at all or paying attention, there's a battle going on between Arnold's and Shepler's, owned by a company that bought them probably 4 years ago in different purchases. It's interesting riding Shepler's. Chris Shepler's an old ski coach, and he sold this company a couple years ago. There's a big battle going on between the folks who own the ferries and the folks who are part of St. Ignace, Mackinac City, and certainly Mackinac Island. There's a process of who's responsible. Is this a tourist adventure or is it an ambulance? It goes back through, if you watch the Free Press, there's been all kinds of articles. It's been an interesting discussion because part of that discussion is that, what does it become? I even heard some conversations over the last couple of weeks that, if you pay attention a little bit, that tourists provide more money than even the sail races. You wonder at some point if they're not going to have a conversation about maybe not finishing at Mackinac Island after 117 years as they're doing for Chicago this year. That's an actual beer garden conversation that I listened to. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's an interesting discussion. And we'll see what happens. It's a 16-minute ride on this version. You can take a slower 30-minute ride, but like I said, we're here all by our lonesome, so it'll be kind of fun as we head out. Well, we're taking breakfast on Tuesday morning. We're sitting in the Chuck Wagon. There's a line out the door. If you haven't been in the Chuck Wagon, we'll show you some B-roll here in a second. But we're with Dwayne. Dwayne and I spent some time last night having a conversation. It was an interesting race. We know there was potential at this massive. I'm not sure what that's all about. We also know that somebody lost Legacy. We talked to them and they broke their boom pretty bad. We watched the video from the Legacy. You see the boat, from Legacy. You see the boat going almost underwater like a submarine. Thoughts on the race?
It was a typical Chicago Mackinac race. The weather predictions were all over the place. And of course they had a lot of upwind at the beginning of the race. So a little bit uncomfortable out there. Then all of a sudden they got a few pop-up storms. We upwards of 35 knots, all the way up to 50 knots. And so we got a little uncomfortable for a little while, but the sailors got in, everybody was safe, and we're here on Mackinac Island for a celebration again.
Telltale sign in the 52 is Mockingbird kind of pulls off a win. Great race by, obviously, Hooligan and Trey Sheehan, ended up in third, at least overall. I haven't seen the final results, which I guess will come out today. But we're talking about sailing, and Mockingbird goes 314 miles. Second through sixth place goes something between 332 and 339. When you're 20 miles behind your power part, you're attacking that much, you're losing time. I can walk faster. It just doesn't make sense to me that distance, right? Does that make sense?
Well, it shows the value of a good navigator on the boat. You know, picking the right lane, picking the right weather, picking just where to go, where the wind will come next.
Okay, this is an odd question. We're going to do a bit of a story on this. I'm sitting by myself last night, Big Pony, when everybody's kind of coming through. I'm saying this as a fat guy, but I've never seen more fat guys in a sport in my life in sailing. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, maybe, because most of the time we were on the boat sitting down. And then when you're not sitting down, you're down below laying down. But some of the boats, the cruising boats, you get a little bit of time on the rail, and you get a little bit of time down below. But the fast boats, the TP52s, most of those guys are up all through the race.
Well,
typically, some of those guys will only get to sleep 2 or 3 hours.
All right, we'll be back in a second with our other stuff, and we'll go from there.
Are you vlogging? We're at the Chuck Wagon.
We're at the Chuck Wagon. What's good about the Chuck Wagon, Emma?
Well, it's a local favorite, and our burgers are really good, and so is our breakfast.
All right. You and I have been talking a lot about the 70s and Santa Cruzes, which used to have their own designation. They've kind of lost that to the 52s. Now, they were great boats in the 70s and 80s, well ahead of their time. I had this conversation during the Queen's Cup. I actually saw the 70s on a beam reach be able to compete, almost compete with 52s. We know how good a boats they are. Ken Copart owns 3 of them. We're going to do a race called the Ambassadors Cup coming up in August, the last week of August. And they're trying to rebuild the fleet and have some kind of a boating event in downtown Detroit. I was a little skeptical at first, and I talked to Kent yesterday. You're going to see that interview in a second. But wow, 70s competing on the Detroit River with the current.
Yes.
That's ambitious, yes?
Yes.
But I also think it's a great business opportunity because you get to see boats that people would not typically see.
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely great because people were standing on the sidewalk watching these Great Lakes 70s that they don't get to see very often. You know, sailing is a sport that is loved by the people who do it, but unfortunately, you can't get a seat in the stand for sailors. So this gives everybody an opportunity to see the Great Lakes 70s out there and see the sport that we love. It's like nothing more different than when they bring that Grand Prix, when they bring the IndyCar into town. It's a spectator sport.
I would find it interesting if you could measure square footage. Now look at a 70 and what it's got to be 14 wide at most. Right, yeah. Great downwind boat built in Santa Cruz, obviously the name Santa Cruz. If you did this square space on deck for the 52 as compared to the 70, I'll bet you they're pretty close to the same.
52
square space and actual top of the boat, I bet you they're the same.
Well, Bill Lee built these boats to go off the wind. And, that was running down first by the coast of California. So they're longer and narrower. And if you look at Merlin, and Merlin was only like 10 foot wide. But the 52s, they're fatter and they're built to go upwind better.
Think of a giant tartan 10. Same boat. Yeah. Anyway, bringing the Ambassador Cup to Detroit. That'll be the last week in August. We're going to spend some time out on either Trident or one of the boats, give you kind of a view of what it looks like, and then there's going to be this sort of We lost the power boats, the speed boats, not the speed boats.
Good. The offshore races, the offshore
Hydroplanes.
races,
I know I get around. Let me start this over. We lost the hydroplanes in Detroit, I think 3 years ago, and so this kind of brings back some waterfront sailing.
Yeah.
Good luck to them.
Anything helps out the city of Detroit and sailing is a good thing.
There you go. We're standing in front of Legacy, and if you can see, there's a lot of celebration go. These guys are the ones that broke their mast, but it's really disturbing to see people of this ilk dancing the way they're dancing. It's a little scary. We're talking with Scott Monroe, owner of Legacy. You guys had one of the unfortunate situations, loaded up a boom and snapped it, and there's been video of it and the rest of it. I just thought we'd have a conversation about what happened.
No, that was just us being in the race and feeling like having stuff up, and that cell definitely didn't, it just kept building and building past the point of it. It was like we kind of reached a point of no return where we were kind of going on a ride and there was no changing what we were going to, there was no sail change option. So yeah, it was kind of full send mode, and first the kite blew up, and then we got that down in control, but there was I don't know, almost looked like a water spout, kind of in that direct vicinity of us and entourage and usual suspects, and it just kind of it came in, and it was just an enormous burst of air, and it really just took the boom. And
speaking of booms,
speaking of booms, it just took the boom and threw it forward. It just crunched it like a toothpick. I mean, we were doing mid-20s with just the main up, and the overwhelming force of that gust, it just took the boom and snapped it.
Are you part of the Corinthian fleet, or are you part of the pro fleet?
We're the Corinthian fleet.
Okay.
I mean, we're not the pro fleet. This is all just me and my buddies.
You don't have $800,000 in the summer.
No,
I get that.
We don't have that. We're racing Riverside Marine. This is kind of what we do. I've grown up doing this, and my dad and Rick Henning, who we were honoring here with this, he's been a big part of this whole thing, and getting me where
Hang on. I'm assuming that Rick is no longer with us.
Well, Rick wanted to be here this year. He's a member of the Old Goat Society and had several boats that we grew up racing with him and my father. Most previously, Medman, who was his latest boat out of all the boats, and Rick was a mentor and
The 52s are so tuned to a point that when it starts to groan and creak, there's issues. And these crews are so good, they sail right on that edge. I've been on a number of them, just having fun with Bob Hughes and the rest of them. When it starts to go, do you know it's going, or did it catch you by surprise?
This one, it wasn't. I mean, we were expecting 20, 25, but it started to build it was consistent over that, where it started to get into the 40s and 50s, and it was just we didn't have the option of changing at doing a sail change or whatever at that point. It had gone out the window, so we were just kind of going for the ride at that point.
2 years ago, we lose usual suspects with a mast. Booms are less expensive than masts. Obviously, we have a two-spreader new mast on what was essentially the old usual suspects. Where do you find a mast for that, or can you find one readily available for this?
I don't know. I'll do some searching around, but we'll find it. We'll make it. We'll do whatever we got to do. It won't be a hurdle. But next week's race, the hook race or whatever, is probably not going to happen. But that's okay. We got a hell of a ride on this one. This one was super memorable for us. So everybody's happy that we're safe and had a good ride, and continue to learn more, and we'll evolve and progress, and
All right. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks.
If you can see right here, Tim Profit's just coming in. It's about 6 o'clock on Monday. Not one of his faster races, but everybody's kind of seen, put the boat back and get settled. Some of these boats have been in here for as much as 18 to 20 hours. Everybody's gone, taking their showers, and it's kind of weird seeing sort of this 18 to 30 hour change from people coming in early and late, bathrooms being available, not being available, everybody trying to find dinner, going as teams. It's the ritual of the docks. You can just see everybody having a good time and enjoying themselves, and that's one of the parts of sail racing that's kind of cool. Tim, what thoughts on the race?
It was a fun race, really fun race. We sailed the boat really well, but we sailed it well in the wrong spots. Our boat placement decisions, especially early on, were poor, but we made good of it. We coming into the finish was, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 miles to go. We were in 10th place, and we made it a goal not to have a double-digit finish. And we had a great battle with Handsome Pete, who was also in our class, who also normally does well, who's ahead of us in 9th. And, you know, we got him right at the very end, so we felt good about that.
Bayview next week, thoughts?
We're gearing up. We're going to fix the stuff we broke and regroup. We got 5 of the same crew from this race on that race, and 4 new ones on the other race. We're going with 9, and we're ready to attack it and do better.
As a coach, when I win a championship, I want to get farther along. You've had just an unbelievable 2025. Mm-hmm. Not quite the same as 2026. Does it push you want to go farther? Does it? What is it? What's the thoughts as a skipper?
Well, it's as a skipper, you're doing a lot of coaching as well, and we had kind of a bit of a youth movement this year, and we, my 20-year-old bow guy, Eric Breeden, we put him on the wheel. He's a damn good driver. I mean, really did a nice job. We had Clark Hughes, who sails around, young kid, early 30s. He does great on everything. We don't put him on the bow because he's too big. Kellen, of course, is her normal rock star self. Right. And Alex Zimmerman, whose dad sailed with us for years, who has skippered Fast Tango in the Women's Championships in Detroit a couple of times, is phenomenal. So we had a bit of a youth movement, and they all did great. Crew chemistry was great. So we're just building the next generation to replace the people who are, retiring or backing off.
A little bit like the Detroit Lions. They're getting younger on the offensive line.
Something like that, yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, thank you.
If you wonder what happens to yellow brick at the end of a race, now you know. Michael, you just got your status for the Chicago to Mac race. You're a GOAT now.
Yes, sir.
You kind of said in a conversation a couple seconds ago that you're still kind of wrap your head around it. What's your thoughts?
It's been a long time coming, but it really, I guess it's how life goes. You just, all of a sudden you're here now. When I was filling out my paperwork for the old GOAT thing, just reminiscing about all the different boats and all the different crews and all the different things I've been on. My first Mac was in 1995. Saturday night we got hit with over 70 knots of breeze, got knocked down, and for some reason I keep coming back. I enjoy the distance racing. I like the camaraderie. I like the shift changes. I like the, it's just sailing. You love it or you hate it. That's all there is to it.
I'm going to ask an obvious question, but when talking with folks who sailed a long time in these kinds of races, when I ask for a highlight, it's usually they've won or some terrible disaster. They never tell me about the mundane races where they got up here in X amount of hours and there was no problems and the rest of it. Is it just those kind of experiences that sort of indelible in your mind that that's just the way it is?
I think every part of the race is magical, from the start to the stars in the night, and they're never the same. I mean, the fastest I got up here was in 32 hours. The longest it took me like about 76.
Wow.
That's quite a spread.
Wow.
But every race has its own magic to it. There's always moments, whether it's a father teaching his son how to sail or just the camaraderie, the food. There's always something, and it's interesting.
I guess the last question is, now that you're an old GOAT, does your price go up for per race since you're with the status you've got?
I'll probably get paid the same.
Thank you. We're finishing up Tuesday morning here in the harbor. Everybody's kind of packing up. I'm sure half of them are going home, and a lot of them are headed back down to Port Huron to get ready for this week's Bayview race, and we'll have a little bit of information on that at the end of the show. We will be at boat night on Friday and just kind of check it. There's a little bit of traveling the last few weeks up to Minnesota and all the way around. A couple of terms I learned new this year. A guy was in the restaurant we were in earlier for breakfast and said my boat doesn't point like crap, and I had never heard that before, and it turns out that's not a sailing term. It was just a vernacular he used, but thought that we'd kind of try to pull that. And a group of ladies just walked by. They call themselves boat mothers, and I never heard that term before. It turns out that that's an actual sailing thing. For these cruising boats, a lot of the guys and some of the women sail, and it turns out there's boating mothers, wondering if there's in fact boating fathers. So if you're going to learn something, hopefully on this show you learn something from the vernacular that's a little bit different. I know what alcohol consumption is part of the vernacular because they had a lot of good times at the parties, and I don't know who's better, Bayview or Chicago. I keep hearing the Bayview party is much better. I don't have anything to judge it by since we don't drink. We spend our time in front of the TV at 10 o'clock, but it's been a great race, and we'll go from there. Just sitting here all by myself in the Pink Pony. It's about 8 o'clock on Monday night. We had just maybe some of the best whitefish I've ever had. I would do the party was good here, but the food is phenomenal. You got to check out and have a chance to see.
Right there is cool.
Club has run a fantastic race up here to Mackinac Island. You know, it's a part of my family and part of what I've done for many, many years in different boats. This year was really special. You know, to get out and have a good start and then kind of keep, you know, consolidating a little bit of, chipping away at little bits of leads was pretty important and pretty special to be here at the island first. But our crew has been working at this for many, many years. So about 10 years on the 52s.
Talking with Pete Price. Pete, we talked about you last year falling off of Trident. We never caught up with each other, but I just have to ask a simple question, sort of a 30-second.
Yeah.
You fall off a 70-foot boat. What's your first thought?
Surprise, you know, it happened so fast. We went through the squall, we were overpowered, we couldn't get things down in time, and the boat just rolled over on me, and I was trimming the chute up at the spreaders. So the widest point of the boat almost, and when the boat rolled, I just got swept right off.
As you're falling, what goes through your head? Oh my God.
You don't realize it until you pop up.
Okay.
And you pop up and you look back. I looked forward because they were going so fast.
Right.
And I said to the guys, I said, hey, when I looked up, I said, damn, I'm in better shape than they are. So, and I was.
How far are you from shore at that point?
We were into the start in about an hour, right?
So
what, 10 miles?
10 miles? A long way to swim.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, you know there's boats coming in your head.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of reasonable panic at all, just as a human? Something like that?
I'm not bragging in any way, but it wasn't for me.
Okay.
I was fine. I thought that myself. I've done a number of Mackinacs, and I said, hey, if you're gonna fall, there's a bunch of boats around me. Somebody's gonna find me. They got the man overboard, damn buoy to me.
Right.
I swam to it, and then a Monte 2, if you remember, from Bay City to Bar 49, Greg Velez. They picked me up, off we went. I felt no injury, so we finished the race and got a flight.
Cool.
Yeah, you were there too. Happy anniversary to you.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back. We're standing in a conversation with Ken Copart, who is the skipper and owner of Trident. We're standing here in the marina at Mackinac Island. Let's just talk briefly about the Ambassadors Cup, which comes up the last week of August.
It is. So it's August 28th, 29th, and 30th down at the Port Detroit Sailing Village. The Port of Detroit has sponsored our event. And they're naming it the Port Detroit Sailing Village is the place where we actually sail out of.
Right.
And that's the commercial place where the cruise ships dock out of, and my company has authorization to do business out of for Hydra, which is our commercial passenger vessel. Right?
So this is fun and business.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? So we have Hydra, a Santa Cruz 70 that does 3-hour brunch and sunset tours. It's awesome. The Port Authority is incredibly helpful, supporting our efforts to bring us downtown Detroit. And we also own a Santa Cruz 70 Trident, our race vessel, we're trying today, right? And we do the Mackinac races and that stuff.
Get a chance to see these big boats. It's obviously a thing. Just out of curiosity, I'm a Crescent guy, so we don't get the river. You're a Bayview guy, so you get the river.
Right.
Racing these big boats on the river, is it really no different than racing on a lake?
Well, there's current in the river, right? So
Right.
you deal with the current, right? It's not tide, it's a one-way turn.
Right.
So,
No, I get it. I
get it. So the 70s racing this Ambassador Cup is pretty intense because the 70s are an iconic boat here in the Great Lakes, right? And so Bill Lee built these boats in Santa Cruz, California.
Yeah.
In the Chicken Coop, place he called where he built them originally.
I've been there.
And
they're great downwind.
They're great downwind, right? So these boats held a record for 20 plus years before the Trans 52s were built. So these were the legends of the West Coast, East Coast, and the Great Lakes.
They really were ahead of their time.
They were very good.
They were,
20 years holding an ultralight displacement record.
For
right?
sure.
So with that, now we're trying very much to create something here in the Great Lakes. Right? So those boats have gone from the West Coast to the East Coast to the Great Lakes to the West Coast to the Great Lakes. The boats have traveled, right?
Yeah.
And it's $30,000 when you ship it one way.
Free to watch this race. Watch it from the shore. See it from right downtown. We'll put some information up as to where
The
people
whole
can.
thing is spectator spectator oriented, right? Stadium kind of sailing.
Yeah.
This is right off the Port Authority dock downtown. So there's 2 marks that we're going to put off the Riverwalk that force everyone back to the Riverwalk when we come to the finish and the start. So it's a very spectator oriented event.
I've had the good fortune of being on the Denmark boat in Chicago for the very first SailGP, and I don't understand what stadium racing is, but stadium racing with a 70, it's got to be spectacular to watch it.
So we have 5 committed so far, and I'm sure how it's going to work out beyond. We get 6 of them, maybe
Yeah.
more that's coming here potentially.
Fun to watch.
And we're going to have fleet racing right downtown. So when you see one of these vessels racing, it's pretty iconic, right?
Right.
You see 5 of them lined up on the start line at one time, it's spectacular. It's incredible. So we really hope to have something spectacular for Detroit. Detroit is lost one of its most iconic riverfront events being the hydroplane races.
Yeah.
And we really hope that we can fill a spot that's been voided here in Detroit by creating a public-oriented spectator event downtown Detroit, watching iconic vessels, just great racing.
Appreciate your time.
At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job, it's our promise.
We're spending some time with Ted now. We're going to talk a little bit about, you guys are expanding from women's to men. We should point out, we've been with you guys since day one. And we loved the products and we loved all the rest of it. And you guys are headed to the men's products. 70% of the market for marine apparel is men's. So I guess it only makes sense, right?
And they are looking for what we've been able to give to the women's line, is the fabric, the stretch, the durability, and innovative fabric. And so we are starting our prototypes in the fall, and then hopefully run the line in the spring.
Is that one of those ideas that if you're not expanding, you're dying?
Well, we definitely we want to start getting into a broader range. We've done a ton of regattas and got our name out there, and it's a great product. And I think that we didn't want to focus too much on one sector, and we also started into the sun shirts, quarter zips.
It's interesting, when you started your marketing, it was all about sort of female products for females. Now you're going to men. It's a female company. How does that rectify itself?
Well, we had a lot of conversations about it, but we thought, for the longest time, women were wearing men's products.
Right.
And I mean, with the feedback that we've got, I think we'll do very well in the men's market. And people have been asking, when are we going to have men's stuff? And for 3 years, we're coming. Let us have our time with the women first. And now we're moving up. And
well, you've proven point of sale in terms of the quality of what you're selling. I think that's a big thing.
Oh, yes.
Price point in marine apparel anyway isn't cheap.
No.
What's the hardest part of just apparel in general? Just always the constant got to be there.
Yeah, and it's marketing and trying to get, it's everything from brick and mortar is kind of dying out.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to do a lot of things more on social media and online. And but with the men's line, I think it'll give us a broader range of, just bigger stores we can get into, and just having, more SKUs and having more of a well-rounded, company. And everyone loves the logo and I think we're trying to broaden and expand out in a lot of different lines, but the main thing we want to focus on are the shorts still for the women, the men, and then hopefully break into some pants and leggings, and so the future has a lot. So it's just we've got a lot coming.
Thanks and sustained success.